All right, let's dive in, folks. Today we're tackling dolphin intelligence. We're going deep with this article. How smart are dolphins? And let me tell you, it's packed with some seriously cool stuff. We're talking brain power on a whole other level. Get ready to see these underwater acrobats in a whole new light. You might even call this required reading before your next trip to the aquarium.
You know, what I found really interesting is how the article jumps right into the science of it all. It kicks off with brain size, which, let's be honest, is always a good place to start when you're talking intelligence, right?
So it actually claims dolphins are second only to us humans in the brains department. Is that legit?
Yeah.
Because I met some pretty sharp cookies in the animal kingdom, and, well,
Haha. Yeah, it's a bold claim for sure. And to be fair, measuring intelligence is way more complicated than just looking at one thing. But this article focuses on the brain-to-body ratio, how much brain power you've got for your size, basically. And in that area, dolphins are rock stars. They even beat out chimpanzees.
okay, so bigger brain, bigger smarts. Does that always line up?
Not always, no, but it's definitely a good indicator. Think of it like this. A larger brain gives you more space for processing information, making connections, tackling those brain teaser puzzles we throw at them.
Makes sense. But what else makes scientists think dolphins are like the Einsteins of the ocean? It can't just be about size, right?
Right, there's got to be more to it. The article dives into some fascinating research on dolphin cognition. That's their ability to think, learn, solve problems. And trust me, they've got some pretty incredible skills.
This is where it gets really cool. The article tells this story about Tanner, a bottlenose dolphin. This dolphin was basically a genius. Tanner could copy what other dolphins and even humans were doing, all while totally blindfolded.
Ah, yes, Tanner. And that blindfolded part is crucial. See, dolphins use echolocation, like their own personal sonar system, to understand the world around them.
Wait, hold on, back up a sec. How does echolocation even work? That sounds like something straight out of a comic book.
Imagine making a clicking sound and then, from those clicks bouncing back to you, being able to create a mental picture of everything around you. That's echolocation in a nutshell. Dolphins send out these sound waves, and by analyzing the echoes, they can figure out the size, the shape, even how fast things are moving. It's unbelievably precise.
Well, that's like a superpower. So Tanner was basically seeing with sound.
Exactly. Even without using his eyes, Tanner used echolocation to understand what those around him were doing and then copy them.
That's wild. And it's not just mindless imitation either, right? It's like he's thinking, okay, if I hear this, then I should do that.
You got it. That's a sign of some serious problem-solving skills. He's adapting to a situation, taking in information from different senses, making decisions. That takes some serious brain power.
Okay, Tanner's definitely got my vote for most likely to win a Nobel Prize if they gave those out to dolphins. But the article mentions another clever dolphin, right? Kelly, was it?
Ah, Kelly. She was known for her, shall we say, elaborate schemes to get more treats at the aquarium. So, get this, she learned to trade a piece of trash with a trainer for a fish, right? But then she started hiding the trash to use later and would even tear it into smaller pieces to get even more fish.
Hold on. She was running a whole scam operation.
Pretty much. And that's not just instinct, That's Kelly understanding cause and effect, planning ahead, even using the fish as a kind of currency.
This is blowing my mind. Would you have thought of that?
I'm not so sure I would have, but it makes you realize these dolphins aren't just reacting to their environment. They're actively trying to control it to get what they want.
All right, so we've established dolphins are clever. But what about language? Do they actually talk to each other?
Ooh, now that's where things get even more interesting. They might not be chatting about the weather, but dolphins have this complex communication system that's got scientists completely captivated.
So it's not just a bunch of random clicks and whistles.
Not even close. They use different whistles that are kind of like names, ways of identifying themselves and calling out to each other.
Hold on, so they're actually calling each other out by name. Like, hey, Sarah, over here. But, in dolphin.
You got it. And it gets even crazier. The way they put these whistles and clicks together, their sentences, it could be way more complex than we ever imagined.
Whoa. So they're down there having whole conversations, and we're totally clueless.
Yeah.
What else did this article say about how their brains work? Because I'm starting to think, maybe they're actually smarter than us.
Well, there's this thing called the mirror test. It's a classic way to see if animals have self-awareness. And guess what? Dolphins are one of the few that pass.
Wait, the mirror test? You mean like when my dog barks at his reflection?
Kinda, but the mirror test is about more than just recognizing a reflection, Dolphins, they'll actually check themselves out in the mirror, like opening their mouths, looking at their teeth, investigating their eyes, things they wouldn't normally do without a mirror there.
So they're brainiacs. A&D, they'd like to check themselves out.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. Who doesn't love a little mirror time, am I right? But wait, you said dolphins weren't the only ones who could pass this test, right?
It's a pretty exclusive club. Aside from dolphins, only great apes, and get this, magpies have consistently aced it.
Magpies. Those little black and white birds. Seriously. They can recognize themselves.
It's true. Pretty humbling, right? Shows that intelligence, it comes in all shapes and sizes.
Okay, that officially blows my mind. But back to the dolphins. This article mentioned something about their memory. And honestly, it's kind of hard to believe.
You're talking about the study where they found dolphins could remember the whistles of their old tank mates after more than 20 years apart.
20 years. That's longer than I remember some of my classmates from high school.
Exactly. That kind of long-term memory, it speaks volumes about how important those social bonds are to them, how rich their social lives must be. Plus, it makes you wonder, what else did they remember?
Right, like, do they hold grudges? Reminisce about the good old days? Maybe even tell stories about that one time they outsmarted a researcher for extra treats?
Those are great questions. Honestly, we are just scratching the surface when it comes to understanding their emotional lives. But that study, it definitely hints at a level of emotional intelligence we never even imagined.
All right, well, let's dive into those emotions. The article mentioned dolphins don't just have the smarts, they have feelings too.
Right, exactly. The article, it highlights some pretty compelling observations of dolphins, showing what looks a lot like grief, compassion, even unique personalities. They develop these really deep bonds, and when a member of their pod passes away, they show behaviors that seem, well, a lot like mourning.
Wow. So it's like they're saying, hey, this individual, they were important to us and we miss them.
Exactly. That kind of emotional depth, being able to read social cues, respond with complex emotions, that's a whole other kind of intelligence. It's about more than just problem solving. It's about empathy, connection.
So they're not just brilliant, they've got big hearts too. But we were talking about how dolphins use their smarts in the wild. Does the article touch on that? Because it feels like we've only scratched the surface here.
You're right. There's always more to discover. And remember, Kelly, our master of treat negotiation. Well, it turns out her species, they actually use sponges as tools in the wild.
Hold up. Seriously. So it wasn't just a fluke that she figured out how to trade trash for treats. They use tools in their everyday lives.
It's true. They carry sponges in their mouths to protect their snouts when they're digging for food on the ocean floor. And get this. It's a learned behavior that's passed down through generations, like a family tradition.
That's mind-blowing. It's like they're underwater farmers using their ingenuity to make life a little easier, and then they share that knowledge with their families.
Right.
Okay, you've officially convinced me dolphins are amazing.
Right. But all this incredible intelligence, it forces us to ask some tough questions. How should we view these creatures?
Yeah.
Does knowing what we know now change how we should treat them, especially in captivity?
It really makes you think about our responsibility as humans, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we share this planet with these incredible beings. And the more we learn about them, the more we realize just how much we have in common with them. It's both humbling and inspiring at the same time.
You hit the nail on the head. That's the kind of reflection I hope listeners take away from this deep dive.
Me too. And if you're anything like me, you're probably itching to learn even more about these amazing creatures. Don't worry, we've got you covered. Stick around after a short message, and we'll be right back with some resources to continue your deep dive into the world of dolphin intelligence. Don't go anywhere. And we're back. Whew. I don't know about you, but my brain's still buzzing from all those incredible dolphin facts.
It really makes you see them differently, doesn't it?
Totally. But here's the thing. Knowing all this, how does it change things? If they're really that intelligent, how should we view them? What does it mean for us?
That's the million-dollar question right there. It challenges our whole relationship with them, especially when it comes to things like, well, keeping them in captivity.
It's a tough one to grapple with. I mean, on the one hand, it is incredible to see these animals up close and personal at aquariums. But then, after learning all this about their intelligence, their emotional depth, you got to wonder, at what cost?
Exactly. Raises all sorts of ethical questions. Do we have the right to confine creatures with this level of intelligence, this social complexity? Is it fair to limit their freedom for our entertainment, our education?
It's tricky, right? Because like you said, seeing these animals can also spark curiosity, a desire to learn more, which is a good thing.
For sure. And that's the balance we got to find. We need to be more mindful of their needs, their intelligence, their right to a natural life. It's respecting them as fellow intelligent beings, not just something to look at or study.
I'm with you on that. Sounds like we need to shift our thinking, yeah. From what can we get from dolphins to how can we coexist ethically responsibly?
100%. Recognizing they're not just cute ocean friends. They're vital to the ecosystem. We got to protect them and their habitats.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this incredible deep dive. We've gone deep. Folks explored dolphin intelligence, their problem solving, their communication, that emotional range.
And hopefully sparked some curiosity in our listeners. There's a whole ocean of knowledge out there just waiting to be discovered.
Absolutely. This is just the tip of the iceberg. So keep those questions coming, keep learning, and most importantly, keep that open mind.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
That's a wrap on today's deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring the world with that same curiosity and sense of wonder, folks.